Alright, this is Quiz 13 Study Guide. Number 1. Got a couple problems on here that are a little bit of a review from last week and even the week before that. So number 1 looks like this right here. And you're told that CD is tangent to circle O at D. Find the diameter of the circle for BC. B to C equals 20. D to C equals 29. Round to the nearest tenth. So they're asking for the diameter. And the diameter would be represented by this segment BA, which is a chord that travels through the center. So if you put the variable x right there, okay? Well, last week you learned that segment lengths in this situation, this overall piece, the whole piece, okay, which is 20 plus x, the whole piece, 20 plus x, times this outside piece, which is 20, is equal to the tangent squared, so 29 squared. So now you can solve for x. So here's your distributive property. 20 times 20 is 400, plus x times 20 is 20x, equals 29 squared is 841. So if you subtract 400 from each side, then your 20x is going to be equal to 841 minus 400 is 441. And if you divide both of those sides by 20, then x is going to be equal to 22.05. The question asks you to round to the nearest tenth. So rounded to the nearest tenth would be 22.1. And that would be the diameter of that circle. Number 2. What is the equation of a circle with a center? The center is at -4, -6. That passes through the point -7 and -8. So if your center is at -4, -6, then the equation is going to start off as x plus 4 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals, this is where the radius squared goes, okay, the radius squared. And we said the other day that the radius is equal to the distance from the point to the center, or from the center to a point on the circle. So you use the distance formula. This is your x sub 1 and your y sub 1. This is your x sub 2 and your y sub 2. And the distance formula says that x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2, which is -8 minus -6 squared. Alright, so your radius is equal to Negative 7 minus negative 4. That's a keep, change. So negative 7 plus 4 would be negative 3 squared would be 9. And negative 8 minus negative 6. You keep the first term the same and you change. And negative 8 plus 6 would be negative 2 squared would be 4. So your radius is equal to the square root of 13. Alright? So here's your equation for the circle. On the right side of the equal sign goes the radius squared. If the radius is the square root of 13, well, the square root of 13 squared is equal to 13. So this is a 13 out here. Number 3. Write the standard equation for the circle. So you've got a center, and it's at 6, 2. You've got a radius equal to 5. So that is x minus 6 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals. The radius squared goes out here, so that's 25. Number 4. Center. The center for number 4 is at 10, negative 5. The radius is equal to 10. The equation of the circle would be x minus 10 squared plus y plus 5 squared equals the radius squared, which would be 100. Number 5. Find the center and radius of the circle with the equation. Alright, so your equation is x plus 10 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 100. So now we're just working backwards. Your center would be at the opposite of whatever's in here with the x, which would be negative 10, and the opposite of what's in here with the y, so that would be positive 5. Your radius would be equal to the square root of whatever's out here, and the square root of 100 is 10. Number 6, same question. Stay. Find the center and radius. You got x minus 3 squared plus y plus 5 squared. Oh, it equals 100 again. So that's not real tough. So your center is at positive 3, negative 5. And your radius is equal to the square root of 100, which is 10. Those won't be the same tomorrow. Alright, number 7. Got to write an equation again. What is the equation of a circle with a center? 0, 0. The center is at 0, 0. A point on the circle is at 5, negative 2. So your equation is going to start off, you won't need any parentheses on this problem, okay? Since your center is at 0, 0, the beginning of your equation is just x squared plus y squared equals. And out here goes the radius squared. So we need the radius. We need the distance from 0, 0 to 5, negative 2. So your radius is going to be equal to the square root of your x sub 2 minus your x sub 1. So that's 5 minus 0 squared plus your y sub 2 minus your y sub 1. That's negative 2 minus 0 squared. So your radius is equal to the square root of 5 squared is 25 plus negative 2 squared is 4. That's going to be the square root of 29. So if your radius equals the square root of 29, and here goes your radius squared, well, the square root of 29 squared equals 29. So 29 right here. Number 8. Find the value of x. If necessary, round your answer to nearest tenth. O is the center of the circle. The figure is not drawn to scale. All right, you learned earlier in the year that if a radius is perpendicular to a chord, then it bisects the chord and the arc. Okay, so this little segment, this 9 segment that's perpendicular to this chord, if you extended it right through to here, it would represent a radius. Okay? So what you have here indirectly is a radius intersecting a chord at 90 degrees. So it means these two pieces are congruent. It means each piece on that chord is equal to half of 24. So this piece right here is equal to 12. Now they're asking you to find x. And x represents the entire radius. So if you take this entire radius and you swing it around this direction, okay, you can redraw it right here. And what it becomes is the hypotenuse of a right triangle. So in this case, 9 squared plus 12 squared equals x squared. It's the Pythagorean Theorem. You're finding the third side. You're finding the hypotenuse of a right triangle. You're just given the information indirectly. So you got 81 plus 144 equals x squared. So 81 plus 144 is 225 is equal to x squared. And if you find the square root of each of those, the square root of 225 is 15, and the square root of x squared is equal to x. So 15 is equal to x. Now, that completes or concludes the 8 non-vocabulary questions on your quiz. The rest of the quiz will be for you to match each vocabulary term with its definition. I've given you the terms on the bottom of page 1 of your study guide. You are going to have to find the definitions for those and match them up. Everybody understand? Anybody have any questions? All right, you got the rest of the period to find those definitions and get them in your notes.